Imagine like looking at a dog you've owned for years. You're petting their face, a motion you've done literally 1,000 times before.
Right. Yeah.
And suddenly the light catches their muzzle and you realize, wait, when did they get so gray? I mean, aging in giant dogs, it doesn't announce itself with a megaphone. It really just creeps in.
It does. It creeps in so quietly.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a profound shift.
Yeah.
The owners who navigate this the best, the ones who give their dogs the highest quality of life, they aren't waiting for some dramatic turning point or a sudden collapse.
Right. They're on it early.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were paying attention early on, recognizing that senior care is this incredibly gradual, highly active process.
See, let's unpack this because we are jumping into a really fascinating veterinary transcript today.
This is a great one.
Yeah, and it's all about senior care for giant breeds, specifically looking at the Cane Corso. Our mission for this deep dive is to explore the quiet, sort of overlooked biological shifts that happen as a massive dog ages. And we want to figure out how you can proactively redesign their world to support them. I mean, anyone who owns a giant breed already knows they have, shorter lifespans than a Chihuahua.
Right, of course.
But looking at the actual data in our sources, the timeline for when these physiological changes actually begin is just wild.
It really surprises people. Veterinarians consider a Cane Corso to be entering its senior years at around 6 or 7 years old.
Wow, 6? That's so early.
I know. And if you are used to the timeline of, say, a retriever or a terrier, 6 years old sounds like the prime of life. You wouldn't even think about senior care.
Totally. I'd be thinking we've got, another 5 good years before slowing down.
Right. But we have to look at what is happening on a cellular and mechanical level with these giants.
Okay.
Giant breeds experience accelerated aging. I mean, from the time they are puppies, their cells are dividing and growing at this massive rate just to build that huge frame.
Right. Getting to, 100+ pounds in 18 months? That takes a serious toll on the body.
Exactly. That rapid early growth means a faster rate of cellular turnover. And that, in turn, can lead to faster cellular degradation later in life.
Oh, interesting.
And then you have to couple that cellular reality with the sheer mechanical load. Carrying around 120 pounds of muscle and bone every single day, the cumulative wear and tear is immense.
I always think of it in terms of, vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a heavy-duty commercial truck versus a lightweight compact car.
That's a good way to look at it.
Right.
All right.
If you have a massive, heavy-duty truck, the paint on the outside might still look shiny and brand new. The engine might still rev perfectly. But the sheer weight that truck carries every single day puts a faster, more intense strain on the suspension and the chassis, especially compared to a little compact car just zipping around. The physical load dictates the wear.
The load absolutely matters. A 6-year-old Cane Corso might still look completely youthful. They might still even have those bursts of puppy energy.
Yeah, the zoomies.
Right. But what's fascinating here is how owners often project smaller dog timelines onto giant breeds, leading to missed opportunities for early intervention.
Because they just look fine on the outside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the dog looks fine, owners delay stepping in with preventive habits. But the internal suspension, going back to your truck analogy, it's already experiencing significant microtrauma.
Which means we really need to know exactly what we are looking for. I mean, the source material draws a line between a dog that is just, slowing down and a dog that actively needs medical intervention.
Yes, that distinction is crucial.
It says a mild shift in pace, like taking an extra beat to stand up or sleeping a little deeper, tends to be normal aging, whereas a sudden refusal to eat or a complete inability to stand, that's a glaring red flag.
That's a general rule of thumb, yes.
But the thing that trips me up is the subtle stuff in the middle.
How so?
Well, we know dogs are incredibly stoic pack animals, right? Hiding pain is a deeply ingrained survival instinct for them.
It is.
So if they're actively masking their discomfort, like the source says, I'd imagine chronic pain doesn't look like a dramatic yelp. Aren't those quote-unquote gradual signs actually just hidden pain?
You've hit the nail on the head, yes. And because of that evolutionary instinct to mask vulnerability, chronic pain is incredibly subtle in dogs.
It's not always a limp, then.
Rarely, until it's severe. It's a low-grade, constant stressor. Physiologically, their cortisol levels might be elevated, but externally, it manifests in ways we very easily misinterpret.
So it looks more like a mood change than a physical injury.
Exactly. It looks like a reduced willingness to jump into the back of the SUV. Or it's very subtle postural shifts when they are resting.
Like how they lie down.
Yes, maybe they stop curling up tightly and start sleeping with their legs rigidly extended.
Oh, to avoid flexing a sore joint.
Precisely. Or, crucially, increased irritability.
Like snapping at other dogs.
Yeah. If your normally placid Cane Corso suddenly snaps when another dog bumps into them at the park, that is a classic pain response.
They're feeling vulnerable.
Exactly. They're feeling physically vulnerable.
Yeah.
So they are creating a wider defensive buffer for themselves.
And we just casually brush that off as, oh, he's just getting grumpy in his old age.
All the time. But it is very often unmanaged chronic pain.
Wow. So we can't just passively watch them age. We have to completely rethink the mechanics of their daily life, starting with how they literally move.
We do.
We're talking about the chassis taking a beating, so let's look at the actual mechanisms of the joints. The source highlights osteoarthritis as a major issue for these giant breeds.
It's a massive issue. To understand why, we have to look at how a healthy joint actually functions. You have two bones meeting, and they are capped with this smooth cartilage acting as a shock absorber. And that's all surrounded by lubricating synovial fluid.
Right, like oil in a car.
Yes. But over time, under a massive load, that cartilage physically degrades. It gets pitted and thin. The synovial fluid decreases.
So you start getting that bone-on-bone friction.
You start getting friction, inflammation, and pain.
So, okay, the instinct for a lot of owners, and I'd probably do this too, is to say, oh, their joints hurt, I need to let them rest all day on the couch.
Which is completely understandable.
But the veterinary data says that is basically the worst possible thing you can do.
It is. It really is because of the role of muscle.
Muscle.
Yes, muscle acts as a corset. It physically stabilizes and supports the skeletal frame.
Oh, I see.
If the dog stops moving entirely, muscle atrophy sets in. As the muscle wastes away, the joint loses its structural support and takes even more impact.
So resting actually makes the joints bear more of the burden.
Exactly. You have to maintain that muscle mass to protect the joint.
Right.
But the type of exercise has to fundamentally change.
So no more like 5-mile hikes or intense games of fetch with those hard stops and turns.
Right. You have to pivot to shorter, more frequent, lower impact sessions.
Got it.
Instead of one exhausting hour-long outing, you do 3 gentle 20-minute walks. You keep the joint moving to stimulate whatever synovial fluid is left without overloading that degraded cartilage.
That makes a lot of sense. But if they are moving less intensely, their fuel needs change too. The source mentions adjusting nutrition downward. So what does this all mean?
Well, let's look at the math.
Yeah, because if I'm synthesizing the biology here, failing to reduce a giant breed's calories is basically a self-fulfilling prophecy for joint destruction.
Break that down for me.
Okay, well, if you keep feeding a 6-year-old Cane Corso like their 3-year-old, but their activity level has naturally dropped, they are going to put on fat.
Inevitably.
It's like packing a 50-pound bag of cement into the trunk of that aging commercial truck we talked about right as the suspension is starting to rust.
That is a perfect way to visualize it.
Right. You are adding this dead weight that actively crushes the very cartilage that is already wearing down.
It creates a brutal compounding loop.
How so?
The extra fat causes more mechanical friction on the arthritic joints. That friction creates more pain, which makes the dog want to move even less.
Oh, man. Which leads to more muscle loss and more fat gain.
Exactly. It's a vicious cycle. Keeping a large senior dog lean so lean that you can easily feel their ribs without pressing hard is arguably the single most protective thing an owner can do.
The trick, I imagine, is finding that sweet spot.
It is a delicate balance.
You want enough exercise to keep the muscle corset strong, but not so much that you trigger an inflammatory pain response.
And that relies entirely on a concept the source really highlights, which is feedback.
Feedback from the dog.
Yes. Your dog is constantly generating data for you.
Okay.
If you take them for a slightly longer walk on a Sunday, and then Monday morning they are stiff, reluctant to get out of bed, or their gait is visibly altered, they are giving you physiological feedback.
They are telling you, like, hey, the mechanical load yesterday exceeded my joint's capacity today.
Precisely. And you have to adjust that feedback immediately.
Not just push through it.
No. That responsiveness is far more important than stubbornly sticking to an old routine just because it's what you and the dog used to enjoy doing together.
That's tough, but so necessary. But, we've spent all this time talking about the hardware, the chassis, the joints, the muscle mass.
Right.
But all of that physical adaptation doesn't mean much if the dog's internal navigation system, the software starts to glitch.
It's true, the cognitive side is huge.
The source goes deep into canine cognitive dysfunction, which is just fascinating.
Canine cognitive dysfunction, or CCD, is essentially an age-related neurodegenerative decline.
Like dementia.
Very similar, actually, in its mechanism to Alzheimer's in humans. We're talking about literal physical changes in the brain structure here.
What's actually happening in there on a cellular level?
As the dog ages, these sticky proteins called beta-amyloid plaques begin to accumulate in the brain.
Okay.
These plaques physically build up and they block the neural pathways, preventing signals from traveling efficiently. Plus, the brain also experiences a decrease in blood flow and a depletion of essential neurotransmitters like dopamine.
So the behavioral changes owners see aren't just the dog, like acting weird or being stubborn. It's a literal structural roadblock in their brain.
Exactly. And the symptoms can be incredibly disorienting for the dog.
What does that look like?
Well, a dog might go to the hinge side of a familiar door to be let out instead of the side that actually opens.
Oh, wow. Their internal map is corrupted.
Yes. You also see inversions of their sleep-wake cycles because the brain's circadian rhythm regulators are failing. So they might pace the halls at 2 a.m. and sleep all day.
The symptom that really stood out to me in the source material was the house training lapses in previously reliable dogs.
That's a very common one, unfortunately.
Because if a giant Cane Corso has been fully house trained for 7 years and suddenly starts peeing on the living room rug, most owners are going to be incredibly frustrated.
Oh, absolutely. It's hard not to be.
The immediate assumption is that the dog is just being defiant or acting
Yeah.
out because they are mad you left them alone.
And that assumption right there is where the human-dog relationship can really suffer. When an older dog suddenly starts having accidents, it is not defiance, it's neurodegeneration.
The signal just didn't get there in time.
Right. The signal from their full bladder simply did not make it to the conscious, decision-making part of their frontal lobe. Or because of the plaques, they literally forgot that the rug isn't the yard.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. So getting angry just makes it worse.
Getting angry at a dog for a cognitive lapse only floods their system with stress hormones. And those stress hormones further degrade their cognitive function.
It requires an enormous shift in perspective for the owner. You have to move from frustration to deep empathy, recognizing that their reality is just shifting.
It really does. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that invisible internal shift isn't just happening in the brain.
Where else?
The internal organs are changing long before external symptoms appear. The kidneys, the liver, the thyroid, they start to decline very quietly.
Which brings us to the source's insistence on twice-yearly vet visits with baseline blood work. I think a lot of people wonder, like, if my dog seems perfectly fine, why are we pulling blood every 6 months?
It's all about catching things early. Let's use the kidneys as an example.
Okay.
Dog kidneys have hundreds of thousands of tiny microscopic filters called nephrons. As a dog ages, those nephrons slowly die off, and they do not regenerate.
Oh, they don't?
No. The remaining nephrons just work harder and harder to compensate for the lost ones.
Wow. Okay.
By the time a dog actually shows physical symptoms of kidney failure like drinking massive bowls of water and urinating constantly, roughly 70% of those filters are already permanently gone.
Wait, 70%. So by the time you see the problem on the outside, the internal hardware is already largely destroyed?
Yes. It's too late for early intervention at that point.
That's terrifying.
But if you are doing baseline blood work every 6 months, the vet is looking at specific biomarkers like SDMA or creatinine levels.
And those catch it earlier.
Yes. Those numbers will start to tick up subtly when only 25% of kidney function is lost. You get the data early.
It's like checking the weather radar instead of just waiting until it's pouring rain to buy an umbrella.
I love that analogy.
You are mapping the data points to see the storm forming while you still have time to alter their diet or add supportive medication.
Precisely. You establish what normal looks like for your specific dog, so your vet can spot the deviations.
So the internal organs are shifting, the mental map is glitching, and on top of all of that, the literal input they get from the world, their physical senses, is fading too.
Yes. Sensory dulling really changes the way the dog interacts with their environment, particularly vision and hearing.
Vision changes are really interesting. The source makes a very clear distinction between a normal aging eye and a diseased eye.
It's a common point of confusion.
Because a lot of owners look at their senior dog, they see this cloudy haze in the eye, and they immediately panic, assuming it's a cataract that will cause blindness.
Right, but what they're usually seeing is a condition called nuclear sclerosis.
Which is different.
Very different. It's a fascinating mechanism.
Yeah.
Throughout a dog's life, the lens of the eye continually produces new fibers.
Okay.
But the old fibers don't go away. They just get packed tighter and tighter into the center, or the nucleus of the lens. By the time they are seniors, that dense packing creates a bluish, cloudy appearance.
But it doesn't actually block the light the way a cataract does.
Exactly. A cataract is an opaque structural change that literally blocks light and causes blindness. Nuclear sclerosis just causes a bit of haziness.
So they aren't going blind from it.
No. They might struggle more with depth perception or seeing clearly in dim light, but they still have their vision.
They just need a few more lights left on in the house at night.
Exactly. Just a little environmental adaptation.
And hearing loss works similarly, right? It's a slow degradation. The source had such practical advice for this.
What stood out to you?
Well, they pointed out that an owner might think their senior dog is stubbornly ignoring a command. But in reality, the tiny hair cells in their inner ear, the cilia, have degraded, and they literally cannot hear the pitch of your voice anymore.
It's true. They lose those specific frequencies.
Yeah.
Which means we have to adapt our communication.
Right. The source suggests integrating hand signals alongside verbal cues early on, before the hearing totally goes.
It's a brilliant strategy.
And practically, you never want to startle a deafening giant breed by walking up behind them and touching them.
Absolutely not. You always want to enter their field of vision first, or stomp on the floor so they feel the vibration of your approach.
You essentially have to redesign their whole environment to remove the friction.
You really do.
Putting down yoga mats or non-slip rugs on hardwood floors so those arthritic joints don't splay out. Upgrading to a specialized orthopedic bed that distributes their massive weight evenly, preventing pressure sores. Even keeping up with dental cleanings. Because, I didn't know this, a mouthful of rotting tartar can push bacteria straight into the bloodstream and attack the heart valves.
Yes. Dental health is systemic health.
Yeah.
It becomes a very intentional way of living with your dog.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The source mentions this Vital Pet app for managing all of this.
Yes.
And while I know we aren't here to, review software, the underlying concept is what struck me. Tracking their exact weight trends, logging exactly when they take their joint supplements, noting the frequency of those cognitive glitches.
It's a lot of data.
Senior care essentially turns the owner into a data analyst. You are basically project managing your dog's decline.
You really are. You are compiling a medical dossier for your vet.
Yeah.
But a crucial caveat here, organizing your data is fantastic, but compiling data points does not make an owner a diagnostician.
That's a great point.
Tracking tools are brilliant for showing your vet a 6-month trend, but they are never a substitute for a professional evaluation.
Right.
You gather the data, the vet interprets the pathology.
And all of this proactive management eventually leads to, honestly, the hardest assessment an owner has to make. Evaluating their dog's quality of life.
It's always the hardest part.
How do you quantify that when the decline is so gradual?
It's the most difficult conversation, but avoiding it does the dog a huge disservice. Quality of life isn't defined by a single bad day.
Right.
It's an aggregate of their physical and emotional reality. Are they maintaining their weight? Can they rest without panting from hidden pain? Are they still engaging with the family, even if it's just wagging their tail from the couch?
Do their good days outnumber the bad?
Yes, exactly. It's looking at the whole picture, not just the isolated symptoms.
It's a lot to weigh.
It is. And this is a conversation you should initiate with your vet long before a crisis hits. Ask them, based on your dog's specific pathologies, what the end stages actually look like.
So you know what to expect.
Yes. Know the specific markers of decline for your dog so you aren't making agonizing decisions in a state of panic later.
This raises an important question. Wait, you said something similar earlier. How are we, as owners, framing this entire life stage?
Yes. This raises an important question about our own mindset.
Because looking at the mechanics of failing joints, beta amyloid plaques, dying nephrons, fading senses, it is really easy to feel this overwhelming sense of dread.
It is, but the source material pushes back hard on that dread.
I noticed that.
This stage of life demands proactive adaptation, yes, but it should be met with confidence. When you understand the biological mechanisms of what is happening, it removes the mystery.
It makes it less scary.
Exactly. If you know how to read the subtle feedback, manage their calories, and adapt their physical space, these giant breeds can experience deeply comfortable, secure senior years.
It shifts from being a period of anxiety to a period of highly focused care.
Beautifully said.
I just love that perspective shift. So let's sort of bring all these threads together.
Let's do it.
What we've explored today is that senior care for a giant breed isn't waiting for a dramatic event. It's an ongoing series of calculated biological adaptations.
Hmm.
It starts with realizing that a 6-year-old Cane Corso is entering their senior years, and their cellular turnover and mechanical load are catching up to them.
Right.
It means looking past their stoic nature to spot the subtle postural shifts of chronic pain, and protecting their joints by maintaining a muscle corset and aggressively managing their calories so they aren't carrying dead weight.
Yes. And it's also about giving them grace when their brain chemistry changes. Understanding that cognitive dysfunction and failing internal organs are structural changes, not behavioral flaws.
Exactly. Relying on baseline blood work to spot the storm in the radar and literally redesigning the floors, the lighting, and how you communicate to accommodate their fading senses.
You are building a safer world for them.
Right. You stop expecting them to fit into your fast-paced world and you start building a softer world around them.
And that is the ultimate takeaway for you, the listener. In this stage of your dog's life, observation is the highest form of compassion.
That's a great way to put it.
By paying attention to the quiet feedback they give you, by learning the mechanisms of their aging bodies, you strip away the fear. You are caring for them at their most vulnerable. And that can be the most profoundly rewarding chapter of your entire relationship.
Which leaves me with a thought that really builds on everything we've just discussed today.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we spent this time breaking down the incredible lengths we can go to for our dogs. We learn the biology, we change our homes, we adjust our expectations, and we offer them endless empathy when their brains glitch or their bodies slow down.
We really do. We give them so much grace.
So why are we so often resistant to offering that exact same grace, that same physical adaptation, and that proactive care to our aging human loved ones, or even, well, to ourselves when we age?
That is a very profound question.
Right. Why is the biological empathy so easy to muster for the dog, but so incredibly hard for the human? Something to mull over the next time you are sitting quietly in the evening, gently petting your dog's face, and you happen to notice that little bit of extra gray in their muzzle.